Okay, so this is just a random share of my perspective on the archangels. I have no idea how this really applies or can be interpreted, but I have a image of the four archangels that I just want to share. They might be useful for people who work with the archangels or people who are understanding these entities. It's just my vision of them. When I look at them, this is what I see or what I feel in my body. So I'm going to share four images, but they're more like gestures. They're more like symbolic gestures, like a physical feeling. So we'll start with Michael. The feeling of being interrupted suddenly by an incoming off the rails train. So let's say you're sitting enjoying a pleasant meal at a sidewalk cafe, and suddenly there's an incoming train that has gone off the rails and is barreling down a crowded street, and people are like, move, get out of the way. So the feeling is that feeling of going from being very relaxed to being suddenly like looking both ways. Which way do I go? Which way is this incoming thing coming from? Suddenly having this springing into action. That's how I see Michael. That's how I experience Michael's energy. Raphael. The Archangel Raphael I experience as the way you have to tilt your head up when there's water coming down on you. So if you think about being in like a shower, you would tilt your head back, so that the water runs off your face. Or if you're walking through like a waterfall that's like heavy water coming down, you would have to kind of tilt, you'd have to tilt your head. I mean, you could go like this, I guess, but it's all going to go into your face, right? The way that you actually kind of would approach water coming down is with your head up. I'm even thinking of like, when you go out into the rain and you're like, oh, it's raining. If you were grateful for rain, like let's say it hadn't rained in a long time and the rain is coming down and you're like, yes. So yeah, it's this tilting of the head back, the shoulders back, that allows you to enjoy water that is falling from in a downward motion. I'm even thinking of like waves, of like how waves, when they hit the shore, you have to, if you've ever swam in the ocean, you have to kind of hit them face on or they'll tumble you, right? So even that falls within that same gesture of needing to, when there's an incoming wave or an incoming force of water, meeting it head on and actively, right? Like face to face, and not, looking this way or looking that way, but looking it dead on and meeting it with that front-facing action. Okay, the Archangel Uriel. The way that I experience this Archangel's energy is, imagine being in a car in the passenger seat on like a high-speed chase or like a high-speed race. And the driver is like evading pursuit. And in order to evade this pursuit, the driver has to make a complete U-turn going, 90 miles an hour, right? And so they say, hold on. And the feeling that you would have to brace yourself, and everything in the car is going to get like flipped around. And so the feeling of sort of bracing yourself in order to make it around this curve, make it around this U-turn and this 180-degree change in direction. You know, and it's almost the feeling too, included in this feeling is like making that turn, and then like the cars that are pursuing, like crashing and like not, you know, getting away. That is almost a feeling of relief too, of having made it around this, like a very close call. And preparing, you know, the feeling in the body that you would have to hold on tight. Everything is getting tossed to one side as you're going around in order to make this like very narrow escape. That is how I experience Uriel. How I experience Gabriel. So imagine like some kind of plant growing that has thorns or prickly, you know, like a thistle or something, right? That's has spikes or has something that's sharp. And if you wanted to pick that, you would have to be very, very precise with your fingertips, and you'd have to kind of like bend over and go in for this pinch. This is like a motion of being still and quiet and bending over or bending down with a precision and kind of like a delicacy, because there's something very fine or valuable that is also protected. And so the kind of this pinching feeling of like you find just the right place and then like pinching off the flower or the, you know, if it's a rose, or like finding just the right place to detach it between the thorns. And this kind of navigating like almost through a bramble or a briar or some kind of, isn't that what it's called? A briar? That's a weird word. Like a thicket, you know, almost having to like squeeze between a tight space or navigate between things in order to get to that, you know, the beautiful rose that is protected by the thorns, or the juicy blackberries that are hidden behind the blackberry bramble. So the kind of stillness and focus and concentration and attention to detail that is required to do that. That feeling or that motion, that gesture is how I experience Gabriel. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have an interpretation for those symbols. That's just literally how I see and experience the influence of these these angels. So I hope that's helpful in some way to somebody at some point. Just putting it out there. Yeah, I'll see y'all around.